Hello, I'm Alice Battersby, and I'm currently the other co-chair of the Warwickshire Youth Council. Over the past few years, I think we've all been very aware that young people have been leading the fight against climate change. Young people such as Greta Thunberg have been running strikes, making speeches, and doing everything they can to make sure our future isn't sabotaged. Why is that? Because we've realised what many people, including, crucially, politicians, don't seem to be able to. 1, our world is changing. 2, humans are causing it. 3, if we want to stop it, we need to act now. But there's a very obvious problem with the attempts of young people to protest against climate change. We don't have a voice. We can't vote or become MPs. Of course, some young people can have a voice through organisations like Warwickshire Youth Council, but there's an inherent limit to what they can do as well. That's because young people have 1,000 obstacles in their way. Imagine the situation of a young person who's worried about the climate and wants to, say, go to a protest in London. First, they might need to miss some school. That might not be a problem if it happens once or twice, but the more often a young person misses school, the more likely it is to affect their grades, and the more likely their parents are to refuse. Then they've got to actually go to the protest, which means either their parents will need to take them or they'll need to take public transport, which costs money they might not have. It's certainly not impossible, but it is much more difficult for a young person to do anything, to have any agency. The adults around them buy their food and choose their energy companies and sort out recycling, so it's much more difficult to take personal action as well. It's easy to say, well, young people will have these opportunities in the future. But what if we don't get a future where we can have an impact? What if by the time we're older, it's too late? In some ways, it already is too late. The IPCC recently released a report stating that much of climate change may be irreversible, and that it may be impossible to stay within the 1.5 degree limit on global temperature rise. Though young people may one day be able to reduce climate change, we will never be able to destroy it completely. And I think this is part of the reason why young people, as a generation, can be quite pessimistic about climate change, and say any action we can take is essentially useless. But this is not justified. Every action we can take, when combined with 1,000 other tiny actions, can make a difference. So we need to try. I am afraid of climate change. I'm afraid that I will live in a world with biodiversity shrinking down to almost nothing because of our changing climate, where droughts and famines and floods are becoming more frequent as each year passes. I'm afraid that this will ultimately lead to the destruction of everything we know. But I'm still hopeful, because people are slowly changing their attitudes and their actions, and because we've got to be hopeful, or we will be unable to make any meaningful change. Right now, what young people need is for the whole world to work together. Of every age, every race, every gender, we need your help too. So, to conclude, although young people are willing to help to save the climate in whatever way they can, there is a limit to what they can do. We need adults, the ones with power and knowledge, to be willing to work with us, to sacrifice some of their own profit in return for our future, and the knowledge that our species will be able to enjoy this planet for many, many years. So please, on behalf of all young people, I ask you to take what action you can, to do everything possible to create a sustainable future. Thank you.